99-cent rental.
This is 99 Cent Rental. I'm your host, Brian White, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Dave White. Dave, how you doing over there?
Oh, it is good of you to ask. I am doing pretty well. I was just watching some Hallmark films just before we got on here, and it's from the era. So they move in tropes. You can tell what era it is based on the sort of primary trope of the film. And this was the someone who is unqualified to be a parent gets willed some children era. And I think it's my favorite trope of these because it's the most ridiculous. Like, you can't just will someone your children, can you?
Can you?
I mean, I have agreed to do that. It was, but I had to like verbally consent to it. I think I may have even had to sign something.
Oh, so this is like in the tropes of these movies. This is like an unexpected thing where all of a sudden, here's 4 orphans. Good luck.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, she's a big city gal who has a professional career, and she can't even keep a plant alive. What could go wrong? And then, of course, she has to go back to the small town, and she, inevitably runs into her high school boyfriend. And, she's in a relationship, but that relationship's not very satisfying or fulfilling. And she just has a connection with this old boyfriend. And, maybe she could learn to be a good parent. It's real good stuff.
So what is what's the background of the boyfriend? Does he tune toy banjos for a living or something like that? I always assume that like the guys in these movies always have some weird idiosyncratic job.
That is not unreasonable to assume that. He, in this particular one, he is a high school or like a middle school guidance counselor. But popular things are a chef, a brewer of beer, a owner of a maple tree farm.
Yeah.
Tree salesman is a big one, because of Christmas.
Real Douglas Sirk territory.
Yeah.
That's just fucking funny. See, I think whenever somebody says like I watch Hallmark movies, I sort of assume that they're just talking about Christmas movies.
Well, I mean that is I would say a good 40% of it.
Damn, that's another 60% that's not though.
Oh yeah, but we move in seasons.
Yeah.
We Hallmark fans.
That's funny.
We move quietly and romantically in seasons.
So it's hard to explain to someone who's never had the experience what a trip to the video store was like back in the day. The shelves were choked with absolutely bizarre crap made on tiny budgets, completely divorced from any recognizable reality, and it was the best. And we tend to talk about all of them. And just before we get into it, if you're hearing this and you aren't aware of our other show, Dave and I do a horror movie podcast on the weeks that 99 Cent Rental is off called Bring Me the Axe. The latest episode celebrates Bring Me the Axe's first year anniversary with a real deep dive looking at George Romero's magnum opus, Dawn of the Dead. And coming up next week, we'll be looking at the utterly weird Phyllis Diller mutant poodle horror movie, The Boneyard.
Also starring Mr. Roper.
What?
Yeah, Mr. Roper.
Oh?
Yeah, what's that fucking guy's name? Norman Fell.
That's what I
just
said.
Norman Fell is the star, yeah. Yeah, he's Mr. Roper.
Shit, because I watched it not that long ago, and I don't remember seeing Mr. Roper in it. I probably would have freaked out. But okay, I'm going to take your word for it. Mm-hmm. If you want to keep up with us between episodes, you can find us on Instagram at Bring Me the Axe Pod, and Dave's over there at That Queer Wolf. Mm-hmm. We got a sweet website now at 99centrental.com. You can also listen to all of our past shows there and read the transcripts. I really need to update that. I haven't added any of the 99 cent stuff yet.
No, so people can't read the transcripts is what
they
you're
can't.
saying.
They can go over there and they can have a blast with the Bring Me the Axe stuff. And
God damn it, do not misquote me.
You can also contact us directly at 99centrentalpod@gmail.com, which is a email address that actually exists, believe it or not. With any questions, comments, or suggestions, do let us know if there's a cheesy movie that you love and would like to hear us give it the business. And lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube now. Search for us by name. Subscribe to us if you prefer to consume your podcasts that way. And you'd be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So do it. Do it, because we got a little 99 Cent Rental got a little bit of room to grow.
Yeah,
and we could really use the 5 stars.
Yeah, listen, these movies are real low end crap for the most part, and we're gonna need some support in order to get the word out about how you shouldn't watch them.
Or should. It really
Or
depends.
should, yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you listen on YouTube, do us a favor, give the episode a like, leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Just want to get all that out of the way right at the top of the show. Because Dave, I got a question for you. Are you ready to break the ice?
Oh, I tell you right now, I thought this would be better. I remember this movie being really, really fucking great. And, I will say, one of we talk about all these movies that we used to watch. Now, I know that we did watch them, but very rarely do I vividly remember watching them.
Yeah.
This one, though, I do, because we watched this one
this one a lot. And I'm right there with you, because I fucking loved this movie. And I loved that whole bike thing, because I had the BMX bikes too, but not these ones, because these are very expensive, very specialized bikes. But yeah, this movie had everything going for it when I was 12, and this movie does not.
You know what it doesn't have? A fucking plot.
Yeah, so here we go. Let me give you a little taste of what we're watching here.
God.
His name is Cru.
Hey, good looking.
BMX is his world. Rad is his way of life.
The world would be a lot better off without kids.
We're here for the biggest and most important bicycle motocross event ever held, Hell Track. This is a very important race. The very finest riders in the country are here riding for some $100,000.
Hell Track in this here town. They've got to be kidding. This is a joke.
I really think I can get this one. I think I've got a chance.
I don't want to hear any more about it.
Everyone's on his case.
Get that. The paperboy thinks he's a pro.
He's nothing next to Bert Taylor.
He's got the style.
There's something about the way you ride so naturally.
And he's going to prove it.
I've never seen such raw determination and talent in one kid.
Against the factory hotshots.
Looks like the local yokel's gonna race after all.
It's gonna take a miracle to beat this guy.
Against the big money fixers.
All you have to do is take out that kid.
Against impossible odds.
You scared now?
This guy doesn't even stand a chance.
Yeah.
He's going for it all. Rad.
Right there. That was a minute and a half. That was the whole fucking movie.
I know. Here's the thing. That trailer borders on fucking fraud, because
that is literally the whole movie. That's it.
But it's a gross misrepresentation of the movie, though, because it implies that this movie has stakes and that it's an underdog story when it is not. It's a movie that I'll save my commentary for when we get into it. But
lies. It was all lies.
It's all lies. We're watching Rad, you guys. Big cult movie phenomenon. So yeah, warning before we get rolling, we're going to talk about the whole movie from beginning to end. Spoilers to follow. You have had a long time to catch up with this one. But then again,
and honestly, you don't need to. You don't need to see it.
But at the same time,
watch Thrash It instead. It's better.
Boy,
I should have taken my own fucking advice. Is what I should have done.
Let's run the facts, shall we? The year was 1986. Year of our Lord. So here's some other movies that were released in 1986. We had Firewalker, which was the Chuck Norris Indiana Jones ripoff.
Terrible.
I've not seen it.
It's got Chuck Norris in it. It
was a big year for Chuck Norris, because there's another Chuck Norris movie on this list.
He is a bad person.
There was also Howard the Duck. Came out that year.
Yikes.
The notorious pile of garbage, Howard the Duck.
Starring a pedophile.
Oh, God, that's
and
right.
And you don't have to cut that, because he is actually a pedophile.
He is, yeah. It's by the letter of the law. Is this Jeffrey Jones? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Also in 1986, Cobra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is Cobra is Beverly Hills Cop?
Cobra is what resulted from Beverly Hills Cop when Stallone took his ball and went home. Also, The Delta Force. The other Chuck Norris movie. Extremely racist. Robert Forster and brown face.
Yeah.
And let's see. Lastly, rounding it out, we got No Retreat, No Surrender, which was the world's first look at Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jesus.
Real banner year for garbage.
Wow.
Yeah. So cast and crew, as always. Our
Speaking
director
of garbage.
Our director is a guy named Hal Needham.
Hal Needham. And Hal Needham. You know why I know? I mean, obviously I know who Hal Needham is because he directed Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Run. But the reason I was like, why do I know that name like so recently? Because he directed Death Car on the Freeway, which is a weirdly feminist-ish made-for-TV movie about a serial killer who is killing women with his car.
Huh.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that one. Because, yeah, he starts out as a Hollywood stuntman, and he moves to film. He's actually the model that Cliff Booth from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was based on, the Brad Pitt character.
Yeah, I mean, he's fucking huge, like, in terms of stunt. Like, he is a stuntman at a time when stuntmen were really having their day.
Yeah, and if ever there was a guy who was dedicated to speed and car chases, it's fucking Hal Needham.
Now, I'm going to just jump in, though, because everybody's like, oh, man, I remember watching Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Run when I was a kid. I love those movies. And I was watching some clips recently, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is all part of that fucking romanticizing the old South, like, kind of Dixie bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
We needn't be celebrating that. Celebrate the South if you want to. I don't think we need to celebrate the antebellum South, though.
Yeah. Yeah. As we said, he directed two very important titles, Cannonball Run, Smoking the Bandit. So well known was he that in 1977, a toy was released bearing his name, the Hal Needham Western movie stunt set. He's also credited with engineering a production vehicle called the Shotmaker, which is a high-speed truck that does it all. It tows a prop car. It also bears a crane arm and a pod that the director and DP sit on while suspended over the road. It looks absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and it makes a nice smoothie.
Yeah, and it captures awesome car chase shots, basically. So after retiring from directing for the screen, he starts bankrolling rocket cars that were intended to break the land speed record, which they failed to do.
That's a good use of money.
Yeah, and then he and Burt Reynolds eventually buy in on a NASCAR team in the 90s. This movie, Rad, marks the end of his theatrical directing, however. Yeah, this was the last movie. And then he goes on and he does a little bit of television. But then he sort of embarks on a whole kind of career like what James Cameron does, where he puts himself in unnecessarily dangerous positions.
I mean, it kind of seems like that was his whole thing, though. Like, his whole shtick was like, is it dangerous? I'll do it. And if it's not dangerous, I'm going to make it dangerous.
Yeah.
So see that car? I'm going to put a rocket in it.
We're going to go past the speed of sound in a car.
That seems unwise. I'm not a scientist, but that seems unwise.
Yeah, that's one of their claims, and it's heavily disputed. Probably didn't happen.
I mean, he seems like a little bit of a lunatic, where he's just like fucking gung ho about everything.
He's a man who put his life in danger for a living, so I would imagine that he has a crazy.
But also maybe kind of like for fun. He's a little bit of a death wish.
Yeah. For sure. I think as a pro stuntman, you kind of have to, because you're constantly at the very least, like at risk of like breaking your fucking neck.
You know what he didn't do though? Never made a movie with Sorcerer in it.
Nope. Fucking missed opportunity there.
Well, someone else took it up and they capitalized on that.
Yep. Brian Trenchard Smith, who we will have to talk about at some point.
Arguably a better director.
Maybe. But also, Brian Trenchard Smith made a BMX movie.
He did that a couple of years before this, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
I think it's 83.
83. So our cast includes a guy named Bill Allen, who is a utility player, stays pretty busy between small roles in film and TV. He was picked up for this movie when Needham saw him in an episode of Hill Street Blues. And then Needham had him read some lines for a casting director, sat him on a mongoose bike to see how he looked, and the rest is history. He is apparently in a band with Lou Diamond Phillips.
Oh, my God. Now, you know that is not a good band, but they play a lot of white blues, though.
Yes, because Bill Allen's role in the group, he plays harmonica.
Fucking right he does. It was either that or keyboards. What else is he going to do?
Yeah. So let's see. His co-star is Lori Loughlin, who is Aunt Becky herself.
She'd been working more recently known as a fraudster.
What?
A fraudster and jailbird.
I don't know anything about this.
She went to jail for fucking
that's right.
Buying off college admissions.
That's for right. I'd completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, Aunt Becky. total scumbag.
Oh, goddamn.
Also a Hallmark star.
That's right. Yeah, she'd been working in TV since the early 80s. She gets into film in 1983 with Amityville 3D. Yep. She's all over the place and still very, very active, but will forever be known to an entire generation for her role on Full House.
And also for buying off college admissions for her daughter.
That's right, which apparently I'd forgotten.
She just undermined all of her work done, all the charitable work of Aunt Becky to buy her kid's way into, I don't know, Harvard or Yale or some shit.
Fucking Ivy League bullshit, yeah. Rounding out our stars, we've got Bart Connor. Who is the second in a weird Hollywood trend of bridging Olympic athletes to acting careers.
He's a gymnast, right?
He is an Olympic gymnast, and in '84, he was kind of like the men's gymnast equivalent to Mary Lou Retton. And
but the hair wasn't as good.
No. His hair was the sort of the kind of California thing you see in
standard dude hair. What I love about Bart Connor is that he's like, they tried to make an actor out of him. It clearly doesn't work for obvious reasons. But what I love is that in 90% of the shit that he's in, he plays a character named Bart.
That's right.
Even in this movie, he plays a character named Bart. It's as though like they tried to give him another name, but he just couldn't inhabit the character if it had a name different from his own actual given name.
Or what would happen is like they would name him something else in the script, but he just could not get his head around it and actually like respond to the name. So they're like, "Fine, your name is Bart." And he's like, "Okay, I can answer to that." Yeah. The other sort of Olympic athlete to action movie career is Kurt Thomas in Gymkhana for some reason.
Oh man, that movie is
hot. Why is it hot steaming garbage?
We got to make room for that one on the schedule.
That's a fucking crazy one.
It's a terrible movie.
Yeah. Particularly terrible, like really, really bad.
It's the kind of thing where you're like, who there someone
the poster for this. The poster entices you with ninjas, not a fucking ninja to be found in that movie. No.
A lot of legs swinging, but there's not a lot of kicking.
Oh, yeah. Medieval villages with pommel horses and like parallel bars and shit, just strategically placed. Yeah. This is not Bart Connor's first role. He'd done some TV before this after winning gold at the '84 Olympics. His career in Hollywood does not last very long, though. And that's not to say much, to say nothing about the rest of the cast, because we got Ray Walston, Talia Shire's in this.
There's like a shitload of famous people in this movie for some reason.
Yep. And Marta Kober from Friday the 13th Part 2 is in this. Yep. So here are some taglines for Rad. Number one.
When you say taglines, you mean like paragraphs. These are
a
like
couple of them
lines.
Pretty long, but I looked and they actually appear on the posters. It's wild. This one, pretty short. It's the awesome BMX movie.
God, I think I know why this didn't do well, among other reasons.
Yeah. So here's another one. A hometown kid on his BMX against the best in the world. At Hell Track, the heat is on.
You cannot do that.
That
is nonsense.
It's on the poster. Here's another one. A kid with one dream and one chance to be the best. To be rad.
Okay, that's the one. That's the gold right there. You do that one.
I think that's the one that's most common. And then here's the one that it's just going to take me like a half an hour to fucking say this whole thing. Yeah. It's going to take a lot more than skill for Cru Jones to conquer the toughest BMX challenge in the world. It's going to take a miracle. Also appeared on many of the theatrical posters. This fucking paragraph of text. So the budget for this movie was $3 million.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, $3 million. It barely made $2 million in its initial theatrical run. However, it was a massive hit on video, making a massive but unreported sum. And despite
here's my theory about this. I suspect because they fell far short of making their money back on box office. Obviously, it gets pushed really hard on VHS because it was fucking everywhere on VHS. I'm going to assume they also probably sold the rights to TV for pretty cheap or packaged it with other shit in order to make it enticing. Because I remember it being on television a lot.
Maybe I have no memory of that. I just remember like renting this one several times. But Rad remained unreleased on VHS beyond its initial 1986 video store release. Didn't even get an official DVD release until Mondo and Vinegar Syndrome released it in 2021. And then it gets a 4K treatment, like everything does. This movie is very, very loosely based on the experience of a rider named Eddie Fiola, who was a local kid in California, caught the attention of factory teams by reputation alone at skate parks in the 80s. Eddie goes on to be the biggest deal in BMX riding for a while and is hired on as a consultant for this very movie, also doing all the stunts for Bill Allen. Fiola gets into stunts professionally in the 90s.
So we should probably set it up by explaining that in the 80s, for those of you who do not know, extreme sports were becoming a thing, like BMX. So skateboarding is the biggest one.
Skateboarding is probably the most accessible one because the decks are comparatively much cheaper than the bikes are.
So you can with skateboards you can just ride them anywhere. Like you get parking lot, you know, fucking down the hall, your apartment complex or whatever. With BMX, you don't just need like room to ride. You need like vertical space as well as just sort of like acreage to ride a bike. So you can't really do that like in a city or unless you live like in a rural or kind of peri-urban space and have the money for a bike. Because skateboards, was like $50, if that.
Like the deck was always like $80, and then you buy trucks and wheels and all that stuff. It usually comes out to about $150, $160 for like a pretty good deck. But I actually looked this up and I asked some questions on the BMX subreddit because I was very interested because I remember the Mongoose bike brand is prominently featured in this movie.
Oh, and it was fucking huge in the 80s too.
Those were so what ends up happening is the 70s is when both like skateboarding as a sport and BMX as a sport kind of come up, but they don't really reach kind of fever pitch or like get that sort of chain reaction until about this point in the 1980s. And so the Mongoose brand was kind of like the fucking flagship, the one that everybody wanted, including me. And I remember there was a bike shop in town that had it, and Dad took me to it once, and I was like, Mongoose, that's the one that I want. And, I was like fucking 9 at the time. And so I have no concept of what anything costs. And he just kind of looked at it and was like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. So I went back and found some catalogs and to see how much these bikes actually cost. The sort of premier frame is a bike called the Californian, and in 1985, when this movie was produced, it retailed for about $250. Adjusted for inflation, that's a little over $700 today.
That is
so. Bearing all of this in mind,
for a child,
it's crazy. But that's the thing is like also that was in Marblehead, and everybody's fucking rich there. So it was pretty commonly seen around there, but we were not rich.
So I have another theory though about why this doesn't work as a movie though, because there was something missing. So Thrashin' is the skateboard movie that comes out in the same year. So obviously they can't do skateboarding, but I think what's missing is that skating had a culture built up around it that was a very kind of cool, like it had there was music kind of built into it.
Oh yeah.
There was a fashion, there was magazines, like there was a very real kind of edgy alternative culture built up around skateboarding that didn't really exist around BMX. I mean, there is a culture around BMX, but it wasn't as visible. It wasn't as flashy or punk rock or anything like that. It just sort of was like riding bikes and shit.
Yeah.
When you don't have that as a thing to work with, I think you're missing a big part of the movie because there's like a lot of like you skateboarding kids, you gotta get out of town or whatever. Like it's just not the same when it's like you're not punks on bikes, you're just fucking kids on bikes.
Like the thing is the BMX culture was in fact really big. It was just it was still super regional, where like you said, like you could ride a skateboard like fucking anywhere. Like you need a fucking track to ride these bikes, and this is very seasonal and shit, but it was mostly like located around California because it's temperate. You can do that stuff in Texas and shit. And so I think that the market for this movie really kind of overestimated the sort of presence of BMX culture around the country. I mean, it was big and it had an effect because it's a fucking bona fide cult movie. But as a market, it was like, I think it struck a lot of people like, oh, this is a thing? Because I have a real sort of like impression of this movie that it follows a really kind of weird mid-'80s trend that there's a whole bunch of movies that exploit popular youth sports trends that was really kicked off by The Karate Kid. In several of the movies of this period, they all bend over backwards to kind of convince the public that bike racing, skateboarding, and arm wrestling and like other sort of shit like that were like events worthy of like massive exposure on the level of like the Super Bowl. Because we got thrashing, we got BMX bandits. We have another one called American Flyers, which is like Tour de France kind of bicycle races. And
Wait,
there's
when is
also
that from?
That's from 85. So that's the year before. It has like Kevin Costner and like Ray Don Chong is in it.
Weird.
Yeah. And then there's also fucking Over the Top, which I think comes out the year after this one, which is like it kind of paints a picture that like there's this like wave that's seizing America and everybody's got arm wrestling fever in it. It's fucking
that
nuts.
That never felt right to me. Because that was another one we watched a lot, but it's like it's about truck drivers, but also a professional arm wrestling. Like, is that even a thing?
I'm sure it's got to be because like there's professional everything. There's like professional cup stacking. There's professional face punching and shit. Like,
wait, how do I become a professional cup stacker?
Oh, you got to look that shit up on YouTube. It is mystifying. You can like meditate while watching it. It is amazing how fast those kids are with that shit.
I won't use it I will not go to YouTube.
No, but you could get like a professional sponsorship doing that. Like not like this, but like you can get paid to stack cups at speed.
Jesus Christ.
It's wild. Yeah. And then of course there's one that everybody loves to say just because they love saying the name, but like a couple of years after this one, Gleaming the Cube comes out, which is another skateboard movie.
That's a late one. That's 89.
That's like 88 or 89. Yeah.
Though I do remember that one part, but there was also the rollerblading one.
Skitchin.
Well, and the Roller Boys.
Yeah. I think both of those were in the 90s though.
Roller Boys, I think is or maybe 90, 91.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my whole point is basically this is a movie that is trying to capitalize on the boom of this like extreme sports thing, but like it's missing the part that makes the extreme sport cool. Even without the culture, they still aren't doing anything to make this look cool.
I mean, just beyond sweet, cool stunts, there's not much that's really attached to it. And in fact, I kind of find Cru Jones to be a little nerdy.
Yeah. Like where are your Tony Hawks and your Steve Caballeros and your Tony Alves? Yeah. They're nowhere to be found. You get Cru Jones.
Cru Jones,
who sucks at everything.
Except writing. Actually, my main complaint about the movie is that he's good at everything. Yeah. This movie, he starts out this movie as the best, and he ends it as the best. There's no fucking arc.
There is zero character development in this movie at all. Yeah. From anybody. There's no tension. There's no conflict. There's no pushback.
There's no stakes.
Nothing.
As a matter of fact, the stakes are the most ridiculous thing. Fuck, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. Because we're not the only ones who felt this way. Every critic who saw this movie felt the same way.
Okay, before you give me critics, the British paper, The Guardian, did a study of 10,000 titles at Rotten Tomatoes and found that out of 10,000 titles that they looked at the fucking data for, Rad had the greatest discrepancy between reviewer scores and reader scores. So the critic score for this movie at Rotten Tomatoes is 0. The fan score is 89.
That's insane. Well, we'll talk about that at the end, but Rotten Tomatoes can eat a bag of dicks. Their shit is all like, so is weighted in so many weird ways, and it's all skewed, and they pay for half that shit anyway. So
yeah.
Listen to me, everybody. Do not believe Rotten Tomatoes. Also, fuck critics anyway. Just watch the movie and judge for yourself. Not this one though, because this one's terrible.
Yeah. So do your thing.
So here's a good one from LA Times. These are all contemporary reviews because I don't see the point in reading current ones. So this is LA Times, and it is probably no movie in recent memory uses the words radical and dude as much as Rad. But Rad isn't coy or elephantine. It lives on its action and it dies on its gab. It also would have been better without all those songs about catching the thunder and grabbing the lightning and going for the glory. In movies like this, action is often enough, but here it's just not radical.
Oh, that's the best. Yeah, because I love the fucking because it's an 80s sports quote unquote underdog story, you gotta have a pump up song, and the lyrics
fucking hilt. They've got it,
and the lyrics to that John Farnham song is like it's all about thunder and fire and your heart. It's so fucking funny. Yeah.
Here's the New York Times is the bicycle acrobatics behind the credits at the opening of Rad are so spectacular that you wonder what the movie can do to improve on them. The short answer is nothing. Yeah, and finally,
oh man, you know, usually I'm way down on this shit, but like I'm kind of with these guys. I understand.
Spot on. So finally, we have the Miami Herald, and that is Rad, which was directed by Hal Needham, a former stuntman who directed, finger quotes. He actually, I'm finger quotes as me, but in the thing, it's actually in quotes. Directed the Smokey and the Bandit series, is crudely made the visual equivalent of a 10-speed with training wheels. Now, the review is lame, but I didn't know why he put directed in quotes. Is that just like because fucking nobody directed Smokey and the Bandit? I don't. Reynolds really directed? Is there a shadow director?
I don't know. I've never heard this story.
What don't we know about Smokey and the Bandit? Probably a lot, and I'm guessing 90% of it has to do with cocaine.
yeah. I don't know. I've never heard any shady bullshit about that movie. No.
So there you go. Most people did not like this film.
That's
because it is not good. But I do like the fact that the original title, it was going to be called Balls Out.
Balls Out. Yeah.
Look, you should have just fucking stuck with that.
Yeah. Let's see. What is it? There was in Europe, it was released as Hell Track, and I cannot imagine how mystifying this movie must have been to European audiences.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it seems like it was mystifying to American audiences, or at least adults. I mean, adults were like, "What is this fucking garbage?"
Yeah. Talia Shire appears in this movie because her husband Jack Schwartzman was the producer.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole thing. Apparently, she's also got a producer credit on this.
Was she was married to David Shire? Something like that.
I don't know.
She's Francis Ford Coppola's sister, right?
Yeah.
I think she was married to David Shire for a while.
And that's
a musician.
Yeah.
Did you watch the bonus features on this?
No. I don't actually. I watched it on a stream. I don't actually have the.
Oh, because I have the disc. I have the Mill Creek release, not the Vinegar Syndrome one. But in one of the things, Bill Allen keeps referring to Hal Needham as the great director. Now, calling him the great director, that's a little bit weird anyway, but like, come on, Bill, let's not go crazy. I mean, the guy made Cannonball Run 1 and 2.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Hal Needham is a very capable stunt director. Like, he shoots action like very, very well. Like this movie has a strong spot. It's that the stunts are in fact really fucking good.
I mean, they're a little bit boring, but I think they're on a bike.
Yeah, there are a couple of really exciting set pieces. Like the big Hell Track race at the end is like, is really, really exciting. And the sort of qualifying heat one's got a couple of really great stunts in it too. Like it's those parts of the movie are not bad. It's everything that's kind of surrounds them is the parts that's just fucking
or doesn't surround them.
Yeah. So there was a real Hell Track that you could ride at a place called Texplex Park in Midlothian, Texas. There's a Facebook page for it, and you can watch GoPro footage of a rider taking it on, and it's like a 1-to-1 likeness. But when I went to look it up, I found a shady website dedicated to soccer betting there. So that BMX park probably closed at some point.
Or perhaps they're just trying to subsidize their income with soccer betting.
Hey, COVID was hard on all of us.
When they made the Hell Track, the actual track, because they did build the whole thing. It's like a real track. Yeah. They built the drop-in wall, like the Hell part of the Hell Track.
I've got a note about that. It was way too tall initially,
and they all got there and were like, "No, I'm not going down that. I'll break my neck."
Yeah. So let's see. Chad and Carrie Hayes are the guys who play Rod and Rex, the evil twin guys in this one. Still very active in Hollywood, but not as actors. They're both writers now who work with fucking Atomic Monster. And we have them to thank for they're the ones who wrote those Ed and Lorraine Warren superhero movies.
Oh, well, I think they should fuck off.
Yep. So shall we do it? Shall we get into this?
It's inevitable.
Yeah. So we open on some dudes in BMX racing gear doing some sweet bike tricks at a skate park, set to a really great John Farnham song called "Break the Ice." Look it up; it is fantastic.
I mean, and just the opening. In the opening alone is like the most 80s shit I've ever seen.
This whole movie is so densely placed in the 80s that it's got its own fucking gravity. Like it is singular to that decade.
It's not the 80s like, you know, like neon and everything's, you know, it's going to the fucking mall and whatever. Like this is the real 80s where it's like fried hair and fucking earth tones and everyone's mom is driving like a paneled station wagon.
Yep.
Like this is what the 80s really looked like. And that is it is remarkable because it is so accurate. It was accurate because it was there, but like it is, I was just like, Jesus Christ, I can't, my note is this the most 80s opening to any film ever? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yep. So now in the morning, 3 teenagers get ready for their paper route. We have our lead, Cru Jones, and his friends, Luke and Becky. Yep. Now, I had always wondered what kind of a name Cru is. Turns out that's not Cruiser it's his nickname, and everybody just calls him Cru. His real name is Christopher. His mom says it once.
Yep. And they never actually explain the cruiser thing, do they?
No, it's just everybody calls him Cru, and everybody in town apparently knows him, probably because he's the fucking paperboy. But a couple of times people call him Cruiser, and I'm like, oh, I just connected the dots. It must be that. A cruiser, by the way, is a particular size of a bike frame. It has bigger wheels and shit. Like that's what it's a reference to. So I guess if you're like a BMX enthusiast, this is something that you're familiar with.
But like he's supposed to be like the cool kid in town. He is so not the fucking cool kid though.
He's a gigantic dork.
Like he approaches everything so like kind of tepidly.
Yeah. Yeah. But also he does that thing where he has that like red bandana tied around his leg. I tried to pull that off. That lasted 30 minutes before I was shamed into taking it off.
Also, the product placement in this, he is a paperboy. This movie is brought
ferocious.
to you by a million different fucking products, including USA Today,
7-Eleven, Coca-Cola, Mongoose bikes, not to mention all the other like sort of specialty boutique bikes. Yeah.
Also, the color correction on this is insane. It is the color is just like it is like intense and like popping off the screen and like weird purples. Like the sky is purple, but in a way that is so unnatural.
Oh, they use that filter, particularly during this scene, in order to. It's one of those like gradiated filters that they use in like Los Angeles shots in the 80s, where it's like really dark and orange at the top and stuff. They do that to obscure the fact that the kid on the bike is not Bill Allen. It's Eddie Fiola as a stunt rider. And the two of them do look a good deal alike. But yeah, most of the time they're doing stuff like that to sort of like hide the fact that it's not really this kid on the bike. But yeah, so yeah, this is a paper route that involves a lot of stunt riding and jumping over shit. Because
this neighborhood is remarkably well choreographed. They are very coordinated in what they are doing.
So much shit to just jump your bike off and like roll over. Like they're always also like jumping over cars and stuff.
But everyone else is like, all the neighbors are also there to do their part, where it's like, oh, got to be there to catch the paper.
Yeah, yeah, and
got to be in my boat fishing while they throw the paper.
Yep. And they got we got the guys in the fire truck. We got the dude in the garbage truck who's waiting to lift Cru over the fence.
Yeah, it's like something out of like the Simpsons arcade game, like the stand-up arcade game. Like,
yeah,
it's just so it's ridiculous.
Yep. And so while we're doing this, yeah, we learn everybody knows Cru. And we also learned that a big BMX racing track is coming to Cochrane soon. It's called the Hell Track, sponsored by 7-Eleven. Which also, in going back to that movie that I mentioned, it's American Flyer. The big racing challenge in that one is a race called Hell of the West that is also sponsored by 7-Eleven.
Can I do soccer betting there as well?
Probably, I would imagine.
I'm not going to go to the Hell of the West website
because I don't trust it. Okay. So when they're done, they head to High School USA, thickly stocked with all your usual teen movie stereotypes, including but not limited to the stuffy rich kid showing off all the Ivy League schools that he's applying to. And then inside, we meet Katie, sort of. She's Cru's crush, or maybe his ex. It's honestly,
who's to say, really? I mean,
not
who are any of these people? It doesn't fucking matter. They're never coming back.
It's honestly,
they make them seem like they're important. Like, oh, here's the stuffy rich kid. Here's the what's his name, the Jamie Spader character, and and here's the girl who doesn't seem interested, but by the end of the movie, she will have fallen in love with him. Neither of those things is true,
because their relationship is completely unclear, and nor will it ever be cleared up. And we mostly forget about Katie for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, she's back for like 1 second.
Yeah,
a little bit later.
Yeah, to be a fucking bitch to Cru,
or maybe not. It's who's to say.
It's really up to interpretation, I suppose.
Also, why is BMX racing so big in this fucking town?
It's huge. Yeah. So yeah.
And they make it seem like they're like, Hell Track is gonna save the town. And it's like, what is the premise of this movie? What is happening? Yeah. Is someone gonna save a rec center?
Yeah, because here we go. We're gonna get into this. Because elsewhere in town, there's members of the city council are welcoming Duke Best to town. Now, he is the owner of Mongoose,
played by Jack Weston from Dirty Dancing.
Yes, he's the owner.
A man who is 65% jealous.
Yep. The other 35 is whiskey.
Yep.
So he is the owner of Mongoose Bikes and is heading up the Hell Track project.
Like we're supposed to believe
I know.
That.
Here's the weird thing is this movie is...
Like this 70-year-old man, this 70-year-old overweight man is the owner of a BMX bike company.
Yeah, and the thing that really gets me is this movie is an obvious sales drive for Mongoose. Their bikes are prominently featured. But the thing that gets me is they're the bad guys. So this brand,
and also, why are so many old white dudes super into BMX racing?
Yeah, because Ray Walston is also super into BMX racing.
Yeah, Ray Walston, who, if you do not remember him, he was on My Favorite Martian. He was in a bunch of shit in the 70s and 80s.
He's Mr. Hand.
He's like, he's like 70-something years old in this,
and he's got a bike too. So they're putting up a prize of $100,000 and a new Corvette to the winner of the race.
So 80s.
And at first I thought like that's a lot of money for the 80s. Apparently it wasn't. Like Eddie Fiola apparently in 1 year, like the year this movie came out, like not counting however much he got paid for this movie, he made like $100,000 in 86 money just through like sponsorships and fucking race prizes and stuff. It was big business. So there is one dissenting voice.
So there you go. I guess nothing changes really.
Yeah. So there's one dissenting voice, Mrs. Gray. She worries that the local kids won't be able to race their bikes in town now that a pro rider event is coming. Duke Best.
Fair.
Duke Best assures her that it's all good. And as a show of goodwill, he's opening a qualifying race for the locals that guarantees $10,000 to a local qualifier. So out in some abandoned house.
Meanwhile, why do these kids own a piece of property?
Or are they supposed to be there in the first place? Is that why the cop shows up?
It's like their clubhouse, but it's also a lumber yard, and it's like an abandoned shack.
Yeah, it's like an office in a functioning lumber yard. So like, but it's also full of their crap. Not to mention it's got electricity because it's got a refrigerator to store milk because they're eating Kicks, which also fucking got a product placement. This is product placement, the motion picture, basically.
Also, Kicks sucks.
Kicks fucking blows, man.
What I do like, though, is the lesbian representation.
Yeah. So they're Cru, Luke, and Becky. They're eating cereal, flipping through BMX magazines, remarking on the sport's new hotshot, Bart Taylor. He's going to walk Hell Track, and it'll take a miracle to beat that guy.
Yeah, well, he's going to need one.
Yeah. Now, here's a weird detail that just sort of goes down as like testament to the sort of cult status of this movie. The song which plays during this scene is by a band called the Charm Kings and has never been released anywhere, not even on the movie's soundtrack. It's also featured in the background of Night of the Creeps. And fans of the movie have gone so far as to subject these scenes to various filters in order to patch together a likeness of the full song. And you can hear it on YouTube. This song is otherwise lost forever. Like the guy who recorded it has like lost the masters and stuff. It's kind of weird. It's this like,
look, just get the fucking dude. If everyone is so into it, just pay the guy to re-record it for you. He will probably get the whole fucking band back together, assuming they're still alive.
So yeah, outside there's the sound of a siren. Cru sees that Sergeant Smith is out there on his police bike. So the three kids lead the cop on a chase through the lumberyard, showing off more fancy stunt riding.
It's a very Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, and I don't like. Does this cop have nothing better to do in Cochrane? Like, it's a sleepy town.
He also seems like this is just a thing we do, me and the kids.
Yeah, because later on he's like, I've been chasing these kids around for years. It's like, man, this is what the city pays you for. Maybe don't say that part out loud.
Yeah, and he's also like, if you watch the movie, you will recognize this man from a million things, but you could not name a single fucking one of them.
No, he's a guy named Hardboiled Haggerty, who was a pro wrestler in the 60s, who made the jump over to Hollywood, appearing in movies like The Muppet Show, Foxy Brown, and Paint Your Wagons, Blood Red.
That's right. Middle-aged guys making Simpsons jokes.
I couldn't possibly make a Simpsons reference in our last one, so it's just been burning inside of me.
I mean, you could have, but it would have been real tacky.
Yeah. So when the kids give the cop the slip.
So meanwhile, Sergeant Slaughter's on his motorcycle, and
yeah, they give the cop the slip. Luke and Becky bust out to go ass sliding, which we'll see in just a little while. Cru, however.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, it took me till the end of the movie to figure out what ass sliding was. And so the first time they say it, I was like, what the fuck is that?
Well, how did you miss the part where he goes, "This is ass sliding," and then demonstrates with Aunt Becky?
I must have not been paying attention. Look, this movie fucking sucks. It is so slow and ridiculous that I was probably looking at my fucking phone while I was watching.
Yeah, Cru.
My note actually says, "What the hell is ass sliding?"
Yeah, Cru. He has to go pick up his sister Wesley. So Wesley,
who's an asshole.
Yeah, Wesley is your stock 80s movie preteen. She's getting picked on at some after school thing by a ginger kid who thinks that Cru sucks and that Bart Taylor is the man, as printed on his t-shirt. Wesley.
Yeah, she's basically Punky Brewster, but like if Punky Brewster were like a fucking jerk.
Yeah, she's in this movie for two reasons. She is in this movie to threaten people and swear.
You know who she kind of reminds me of? She reminds me of the sister from Pecker. Is it Chrissy?
Yeah,
is that her name?
Yeah. But, yeah. So now at home, Cru, a very good son, helps his mom bring in the groceries, and then he talks to her about trying to qualify for the Hell Track race.
And like every 80s mother, she is harried and just at her wit's end.
Yeah. We also learned that like his dad has died maybe recently. It's honestly another detail that's
another thing that's so like they just kind of toss it in there like it's no big deal.
Yeah. But you know what it is this movie is kind of trying to do like a paint by numbers Karate Kid thing where like,
oh fuck yeah,
where like
this movie has hits every fucking note of an 80s sports drama, but without any of the plot or character or narrative arc.
None of the heart. That's the other thing. That's the thing is with these movies, you need an underdog, and like Cru Jones is just not an underdog. He's like
every part of this is so recognizable and it feels so familiar, except there's nothing there.
Yeah. Like that's the thing is watching these movies, like we all know how they're going to end when we buy the fucking movie ticket. You know that Daniel San's going to win the big tournament at the end of the Karate Kid, but
yeah, because if he got killed, it would be a real fucking downer.
You know? But the thing is like
arguably a better movie, but disappointing.
A well-written movie will convince you to sort of suspend your disbelief and just let it take you where it's going to take you.
Yeah, it's like if Rudy wanted to join the football team and they were like, man, get the fuck out of here. You are never going to be good at this. End of movie.
Or he shows up and they're like, yeah, sure, you can join the football team. And oh my God, you're really good at football. And then that's just the whole movie.
He breaks his leg and does irreparable damage and walks with a limp for the rest of his life. That's Rudy 2, Electric Boogaloo.
the Legend of Rudy's Gold. Yeah. So, the problem is that the Hell Track race is on the same day as SATs, and she will not let him miss them. And we also learned that his dad is dead, like I said. The race is out of the question now.
And then he stuffs his sister in a gigantic trash barrel that I'm pretty sure is only in their kitchen for this bit.
Yeah. So now out at the park, Cru and his friends do sweet bike tricks on the ramps and the quarter pipes, which I wish our town had shit like that. No dice.
Well, our town was, I think, quite a bit smaller than wherever this fucking town is.
I don't know. I get the feeling like this is supposed to be small town USA. It's actually small town Calgary, but
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful
or actually, it's Cochrane in Alberta. So it's a real place.
Beautiful Alberta.
And it is beautiful. And there's some really great location photography in this. So
good beef. They raise good cattle there.
Do they? Is this a thing you know?
They do.
Awesome.
This is a thing. Yeah. This is true.
So yeah, Cru's whole thing is he's
also the interstitial music in this is fucking wild.
It's silly as hell,
it's like
right?
Sitcom music.
Yeah. Because we go from like awesome, like pump up.
Okay, hold on. So, reel it in a little bit. Awesome.
I will not, sir. I will not.
Okay.
Those fucking. How can you not like that shit? That stuff will get you pumped up.
It's like, oh no, I've got some lyrics quoted here later, so don't you worry.
Good.
Come back to this.
Oh, good. Yeah. So Cru's whole thing is he's trying to do a backflip on the bike, but he bails every time. Now Becky and Luke break off and head into town for the big BMX parade. As the
wait, which one's Becky? She's the lesbian?
Yeah, from Friday the 13th.
Look, I'm making assumptions, but I mean, you know.
I mean, unless she's trying to, keep it in the closet because she hooks up with Luke later.
Does she?
Yeah. Man, you did not pay attention to this fucking movie, did you?
Look, this movie sucks. It is so slow and boring.
Yeah. Like at one point in the movie, they just kind of end up together and it's not it's not a major fucking plot point. It's one of these things.
There are no major plot points. That's the problem.
Do not give me a hard time. This was another one of your picks.
I know. There's nobody to blame here but me. I don't know why I was like, this one seems like it'll be fun.
Because in the back of our minds, this movie was great.
Because to 7-year-old me, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it was not. But we don't have to tangle with that until now. Oh boy.
Listen, are Shriners still a thing? Why were Shriners a thing?
Shriners are still a thing. They're one of the sort of appendant bodies of Freemasonry. And
why do they drive those little cars? Don't they feel stupid?
So they should
feel stupid.
Their whole thing is they're a little silly, but it's all kind of part of it's mostly fundraising. They're
fraternal orders they've got a real murky, sketchy history.
These guys in particular, they do a lot of fundraising for like cancer charities. I'm a Freemason.
Well, why don't you have a fucking tiny car?
Because I'm not one of those guys. I'm not a Shriner.
All right. Well, could you lobby to get tiny cars for the Freemasons?
If I was a Shriner, but I don't want to be a Shriner. Those guys are kind of.
That feels also a little bit exclusive too. Like you're getting into some class issues if you're like everybody has to buy a tiny car now. I don't even know where you buy one. I think you have to build one.
Probably you get a little kit from the Shriners. It has to be a Shriner approved car. I don't know. I'm talking about my ass on that part, but they.
It's all way more interesting than anything that happens in this movie.
As soon as I saw them, I was like,
we just built out a story that is more robust than the plot of this film.
Not the last Masonic symbol in the movie, because Hal Needham was also a Mason.
Okay.
But let's see. So Becky and Luke break off. They head into town for the big BMX parade as the Mongoose team.
Where everyone's hair is fucking fried to shit.
Oh my God. It's teased up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm talking like bangs to the gods. Everybody they all look like our cousin Jennifer in 1987. and I was like big hair and like really awful like denim short shorts, but like not that look cool or hot, but mostly just kind of make you look a little dumpy.
Yeah, what was the deal with shorts in the 80s? Like they were fucking short, dude.
I mean, I guess probably on the assumption that shorts are for running.
Yeah.
And if you're running, you do not want a lot of friction, though I would argue you also don't want things that are skin tight.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, it's weird, but yeah.
And I mean, there's also probably a lot of sexism going on and misogyny there as well.
But yeah.
So nobody looked good. That's the point. Nobody looked good. And I appreciate that this movie goes so far as to make sure that nobody looks good.
Yeah.
Until the hot out-of-towners show up.
Team Mongoose, it turns out, are the Cobra Kai of Rad. Mm-hmm. They roll into town in a parade. One of the trucks.
But even they are just weak as shit. At least Cobra Kai were fucking menacing as hell.
Oh, yeah, they were
real angry for teenagers.
Bad guys. Yeah. One of the trucks is driven by Bart Taylor and his twin roadies, Rex and Rod. and they're accompanied by a couple
who are
of
basically like those characters from G.I. Joe.
I was going to say they're
twins.
Tomax and Saymont.
Yeah, they're basically just them.
Yeah. They even get like a real goofy costume a little bit later on.
Any dude who's listening to this that's like 42 years old is like, shit, yeah, I remember all of this stuff.
Fucking Sartan, and
everybody else is
Dreadnoks.
Everybody else is like, I subscribe to this bullshit. Yes, you do. And I am thankful for that, but also bewildered by your choice.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the treasure that we provide. Yeah, so they're all these guys. These are the bad guys. They're also accompanied by a couple of Cyndi Lauper lookalikes that hang off of their arms.
Yeah, these are like classic 80s like sluts. Like these are the girls. Like,
why do they have
groupies? They may as well be smoking in every scene. I don't know. I think they're like they're there to sort of be like a kind of an altar to Aunt Becky. Yeah. But Aunt Becky's like supposedly an actual BMX rider. These girls just seem like they're kind of like their girlfriends.
Or
like
I get
they're hangers on.
Here's the thing. I get the feeling that they have been provided for. You know, like
they do have this feeling of like, here are your ladies for the weekend.
Yeah, it's real weird. They suck too. Those girls are the worst. Yeah, and now rolling in with Team Mongoose is Christian, played by Aunt Becky, and she is the #1 female rider on the Mongoose team.
And look, just because she's with them doesn't mean she's like them, okay?
That's right.
She's really serious about this.
So out on the other side of the parade is a lady who needs to get through because she's late and her cake is in the oven.
This is the most infuriating bullshit I had seen to this point in the film. Because first of all, you don't leave shit in the oven.
I said the same thing. Like I was like, I have cooked cakes, and let me tell you, I would not go anywhere because that shit just. First of all,
no. And look, houses in the 80s were burning down left and right.
This is true. Yeah.
I mean, the reason we have smoke detectors in homes is because people used to fall asleep in bed smoking cigarettes all the time. Children were dying because their pajamas were burning to their bodies. You don't put a cake in the oven and then be like, you know what? I'm going to hit town for a while. Here's a BMX parade I got to see.
Yeah.
This contrivance annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah. Luckily, Cru and his crew are there to help her out. They stop the parade and they wave her through. At the same time, Aunt Becky catches his eye from across the way. But here comes Sergeant Smith to deal with the riders, so Cru and his friends beat it.
God, this parade is so depressing.
It's pretty nasty. Yeah.
Because it's also like sparsely populated, and there's really not much happening in the parade part of the parade.
No, because there's like one truck with Bart and the weird twins. And then there's like some clowns and some Shriners, and that's it.
Like nobody's even throwing candy. That was the best part about going to parades is they chucked candy at you.
Fuck yeah. I saw no candy being thrown here. Fucking ripoff. So back at school, Cru is trying to impress Katie, who is not impressed.
Yeah, Cru is real needy.
Yeah. There's a dance tonight. Yeah, he's doing all these they're pretty cool tricks, but he's like, hey, Katie, look at this. Hey, Katie, you like this? Hey, Katie, check this out.
Hey, Katie, I can do this. Have you ever seen somebody do this? Yep. Hey, Katie, we just see that. I did this one too.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. There's a dance tonight at school, but she will not be going with Cru. So at the dance.
But even like Katie, she's not even like a bitch about it. It's just like, dude, she's just not interested. Like, fuck off.
Yeah. A little context would have gone a long way in this. Like, did they date, or is she just some girl that he harasses?
Yeah, he's just fucking harassing her. If anything, like he's kind of the villain of the piece.
Yeah. So at the dance, there's some shady business with Mr. Hand and Duke Best, who's the Mongoose owner. But what that is not clear yet. And
then they do like a real dirty dancing moment where they're like, well, fellas, shall we have a little drink of punch? Yeah. And he pulls out his flask and it's like, what is happening?
Are you going to spike?
Why is this in the movie?
Is he about to spike the punch bowl at a high school dance? This adult man?
Look, that would have been infinitely better than the nothing that happens for the rest of the film.
Yeah. So at the dance, Cru does some sweet bike tricks outside the school. He realizes that he's been ghosted by Katie, whatever. But Aunt Becky notices him, and so inside the dance, Bart, Rod, and Rex hit the dance floor
oh my fucking God.
A highly choreographed number, dressed in really bizarre matching outfits.
Why are they wearing silver one-piece suits?
I don't know, but I did find this out. Those are borrowed wardrobe from the TV show V.
Okay, that does make a lot of sense.
That's what the Visitors wore.
Second question, when did they have time to learn this synchronized dance routine?
This I only assume that they go from like city to city and that they have just been working on this number. And like this is its latest iteration because it is.
But it's also like it's real fucking lazy too.
Yeah. Like they didn't have money for a choreographer on this one.
Now, the lyrics to the song
are very, very funny. It's a song called Music to Dance To by Sparks.
Yeah. It's shake it, dear, don't be shy. Shake it, dear, right in my eye. What?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then it's time for Bicycle Boogie, which is bike dancing, and it is dumb as shit.
It's the dumbest bullshit, and everyone is so fucking delighted by this. I would have been annoyed as hell. Like, can this kid not fucking ride his bike everywhere he goes, including in the school?
And also, like, dude, you're posing a danger to people now. Like, kids just want to go to the fucking dance. Also, you know what? Also points to them for making a dance look like an actual school dance.
Yeah.
Like everyone's just kind of like this. There's not a lot of people there, and everyone's a little bit lazy. Nobody's really dancing, which is why you got to get the V-suited people out there. But then the bike dancing part, it's like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, it's set to Real Life's "Send Me an Angel," which is a song that I think is great.
Look, it is a song that is in every goddamn 80s movie ever made.
It's weird because that band had like put out a ton of records, but like that is the only
one that matters.
Only song that anybody has known for them, and they have wrung the life out of that one. That song was written in 1983. It is resurrected in this movie in 1986. They also do another version of it in 1989. Like
it's in Teen Wolf 2. It's in like 9 movies.
Yeah. It's a cool song. Like I think it's really, really good. But yeah, bike dancing.
Also, is bike dancing is this just like a thing that people were supposed to know how to do? Like, I don't remember this being a thing in the 80s.
Oh no, this was a ridiculous stylistic choice for this movie.
Because she's just like, Aunt Becky's like, come on, let's do this thing. And it's like, well, how does he know how to do this?
Well, he doesn't because because
this is like synchronized. This is like a ice skating type of like, they're really doing like dance moves on a bike. It's like, you don't just instinctively know how to do this.
Yeah. It's also, it's extremely dorky.
Oh yeah, no, it is so fucking stupid. And it goes on forever. It's like the big dance scene at the end of Saturday Night Fever before the guy dies, except they're on bikes and it sucks.
Yeah. The next day, Cru's back at the park trying to get that backflip again, and he keeps bailing. But this time, Christian is there to help him out, and he gets it on the second try. So now they go ass sliding together to celebrate, you see. And it's literally just sliding down a cement drain into a river. And this is the part.
Now, but you skipped the part where the guy, the bad kids, the bad bike kids, go to like the restaurant, the local restaurant.
Yeah, because there's absolutely no point to it except for
and they're like, hey, what do you got to do to get a table around here? And it's like, it's a fucking Denny's. Just sit down, you asshole.
It's literally a snack bar.
Yeah. And like, I love how the whole town is like bending over backwards to these fucking BMX riders.
It's real wild. Yeah, you would think that they're trying to get a table at Dorsia or something. It's very fucking funny the way that it goes. But it's also, I left it out because it's a stupid fucking scene. But yeah, now they're doing the thing, and
now they're going to ass sliding.
They go ass sliding, and this is the part where at the top of the slide, he literally says to her, "This is ass sliding."
Look, I cannot be expected to pay attention to every beat of this movie.
Yeah, so this turns into a tender moment set by the river, which is set to a slow jam. And so...
And then they take it back to their weird shack of theirs, and then where he and Aunt Becky are wrapped in moving blankets. It's real cozy stuff. You know?
Yeah. And again, this kind of goes to my whole complaint that Cru is just good at everything, and everything works out. Mm-hmm. This happens. This relationship develops over the span of an afternoon.
Yeah, they have known each other for 2 hours, and they are already a couple.
Yep. And so now the first in a series of Cru's struggles just automatically fixes itself when Aunt Becky tells Cru that it doesn't matter if he misses the SATs on race day because he can just take them again because it's not like you get one shot at taking your SATs.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's a true thing, Talia Shire, so fuck off.
Now at home, Cru has to forge his mom's signature to get into the race, and he's fucking it up. Luckily, Wesley is a born criminal who pulls it off for him.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's race day.
Like she has that vibe of who's Jason Patrick's brother? Jonathan Miller or something?
I think you're right.
It's 2 names. It's 2 first names. She's that, whereas she's like, she's a little bit wily, a little criminal. Like she's like a badass child, but with like a heart of gold.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, now on qualifying day, Duke Best explains the inspiration for Hell Track. It's like the Super Bowl of
again. Why are all these old white men super excited about this? When was the last time any of them were on a bicycle?
Yeah, for them though, it's all about money. So
I guess
it's like the Super Bowl of BMX racing that combines all the different styles of riding into a single event. And there's a reason that these styles are typically separated into different events, because not every rider is suited to every event. Some ride tracks, some excel at ramps and pipes, and others are flatland free riders. And because of this, there's a production note that is none of the actual like pro riders that they brought in to do the big sort of like climactic scene at the end could actually do the entire thing in a single lap. Like they had to shoot it several times in like different stretches.
And you can tell like that not all of them are really either familiar with this or experienced in it, because some of the actual track riding, it seems real slow, where they're like, oh God.
Yeah. But the rules of the qualifier are simple. All riders, pro and amateur, will compete in 3 heats. The top 20 finishers overall will go on to compete in the Hell Track race. Now,
none of this matters.
Luke and Cru.
This is more than halfway through this fucking movie, and nothing has happened.
Luke and Cru are both in the race, but Duke Best, being an asshole, assures everyone that none of the locals will win when put up against the pro riders. So Bart Taylor rides in every heat with Rex and Rod coming up behind him, and they ride dirty and use their bikes to knock everyone off the track who approaches the lead. Now, Luke is taken out almost immediately, and his tire is bent very badly. Now, doing laundry at home and watching the qualifying races on TV like any normal mom would do, she spots Cru in the pack and is disappointed.
Oh.
So
because he's given up his solid future.
Yep. What is it? She says, that's self-destructive, she tells him. So Cru manages to finish strong in each race. He doesn't take first in any of them, but he finishes top 3 in all of them. But also, he regularly cuts the track. I don't know how he gets through without being cited for cheating, because like he fucking cuts corners constantly.
There's a lot riding on this in the town.
He takes a real hard spill in the last race in a real Hal Needham grade stunt. Not only does he fall off of his bike, but he gets hit by one of the riders going by. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh God, that looks like it fucking hurt.
I was just excited that something was happening.
Yep. So this is the other thing. His number is 33, which is the highest degree of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Like I said, Hal Needham was a Mason.
Either that, or it was a reference to old Latrobe, the Rolling Rock bottle.
the old Pennsylvania beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Has a mysterious number 33 on it.
No shit.
Hey, look, it's just as possible as your bullshit. So
probably also Masonic, because it's a big deal in Pennsylvania. So, anyways, Cru wins, qualifies for the Hell Track race, celebrates for seconds until his mom shows up to give him hell.
But the whole town is so excited.
Oh my God, yeah. The hometown boy has won. Their favorite guy, the golden child. But then the SAT situation just fixes itself, and nobody seems to remember that Cru just won $10,000.
Yeah.
So now he goes to work after the race, and Duke Best wants to talk to him out in the car. And now
first his friends come running in and they're looking for him and they're clamoring around. And one of them's like, they're calling his name. One of them looks in a crock pot, like he's going to be in the crock pot.
That's Luke. He's very excited. Yeah. Now we have to wait a few.
Well, he's also an idiot.
Yep. He's a complete fucking moron. He's a guy who every time he shows up, I have to be like, who is this guy again? Like, are these people characters? It turns out he is, but he's like one of the least notable characters in the entire movie.
I believe he was an actual rider, or he was an athlete of some kind.
Okay,
he's not an actor.
No shit. Okay. So yeah, now we got to wait a few minutes to know what Duke Best and Cru talk about, because Needham cuts away from their conversation to a clothing store where Becky is buying a blouse or something, and Bart's girls show up.
This old guy is propositioning this kid, and that's what you cut away to?
Yeah. I guess they want to add a little tension or something, but I'm just like, I guess they're just going to tell us in a little while. Like, why don't they just tell us?
That Cru is like Jesus, but like if Jesus rode a bike, like he is very important to this town.
Yeah. So yeah, Bart's girls show up to drive home the point that they're really shitty girls from the city. And then we cut back to Cru vigorously turning down Duke Best's offer, whatever that was. So the stakes for Duke Best are pretty high. He has a whole merch line in Bart's name prep for launch, and it's all worthless if Bart loses the Hell Track race to Cru.
But like, even that's not really stakes because athletes lose shit all the time.
It is the closest thing this movie has to stakes.
I mean, literally only one person can win. So that means that anybody else who has sponsorships would have to lose those sponsorships.
Yes.
Because they would be valueless, which is simply not the case ever.
No. So on his way into the race, Cru is stopped by a dude checking sponsors at the gate and is informed that there's a new rule that in order to race, despite qualifying in the open, you have to have a sponsor in order to race.
And he keeps saying no race.
No racy.
And that really, really bothered
me too. I don't know why. But
because it's like kind of cutesy, but he's like standard issue 80s slime.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mr. Hand is lurking in the background.
Yeah. And Ray Walston does not like any of these underhanded tactics because, before he was on board with all this shady corporate bullshit, but not like this, fellas. Not like
it's a weird turn because earlier in the movie, he gets his coffee knocked out of his hand by a flying newspaper. And he's like, this town would be so much better without kids. But now he's all about the kids. And so he
their enthusiasm won him over,
Yeah, he watches Elliot ice Cru out of the race. So now Cru tells Aunt Becky that this happened because Cru turned down Duke Best's offer of a sponsorship and stardom if he threw the race, which honestly isn't a bad deal.
No,
because he could have got like a fucking ton of money and like free bikes and shit. And like,
welcome to the fucking world, Cru. Yeah. How do you think all this shit works?
You gotta have.
It's not a meritocracy, you fucking idiot. But you know what? The 80s was so into the idea. Like, that's that sort of rosy Reaganism. Like, you just try your best and be super white and wealthy. Everything will go your way.
Yeah, you just got to have heart. You got to have the heart of a champion.
And money and white skin and a dick. Those things help, too.
So, that's the whole thing. Disappointed, Cru heads back into town and breaks the bad news. And Wesley presents a T-shirt that she made for Cru, which gives him an idea. They'll use the $10,000 to start a racing company called Rad Racing, which sells the shirts, and the company will sponsor Cru in the race. And then they set about selling their tees at Hell Track, while Cru and Aunt Becky go for a ride together, set to yet another slow jam.
Yeah. But first, she's making like hobo chili at their vacation house on the lumberyard.
That's right. No, she's making hot chocolate, but she's like, we had to waste 2 cans of beans and make this hot chocolate with river water. And I'm like, kid, you're gonna get cancer drinking that river water.
Also, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Why don't you just go get cocoa somewhere else? You don't have to drink tainted river water. You live in a town that has indoor plumbing.
This thing is because they're cold and they're wet and they don't want to, I don't know, they don't want to take their moving blankets out.
Not much I get.
Yeah. Duke Best spots the Rad Racing team and informs them that there's another new rule. The sponsor has to have $50,000 in sales to qualify as a sponsor. Cru, momentarily defeated, storms off.
And listen, if Ray Walston didn't like it before, he definitely doesn't like it now. Because I'll tell you what, he's nothing if not a classic 80s Republican. He loves free enterprise. Loves it.
Says it as much. Mm-hmm. Also, Bart sees this, isn't too happy about it. So Aunt Becky confronts Cru about his attitude back at their weird clubhouse.
Yeah, like even the fucking villain can't be a proper villain.
Yeah, right. And it looks like they're going to break up because he's acting all defeated. And then the next day, Cru hits his paper out hard and he breaks his speed record, getting him excited about racing again.
Has nothing to do with anything. Doesn't matter.
Does not fucking matter. Mr. Hand is also scheming on a new plot, and he takes Cru's dilemma to the town, who raised money on the spot to dig Cru, a good hometown boy, out of his problem. They don't quite pull up all the money needed, so Mr. Hand throws in the remainder, which is something like $25,000.
They still do raise like 20 grand for this kid.
Yeah. And
the town rallies and raises $20,000 for a BMX race so their kid can go do the BMX race. What is this dumb bullshit?
It's hometown pride, something you've never heard of, obviously.
No, I definitely have not. I am from New Hampshire, and I fucking hate that state.
So Duke Best isn't happy about this, so he gives his riders an ultimatum. Rex and Rod have to sweep the leg and knock Cru out of the race, Bart just has to win, but he's not feeling this shady shit. He's a good sportsman, you see. And now Mr. Hand has also swapped alliances, having dug Cru out of the mud, put him back in the race. Yep. He stood to take,
and he gives the guy from Dirty Dancing the finger.
Yes, and we get the sort of the details of their deal. He stood to make 50% of whatever Duke Best's payout was, but for whatever reason, he's now in Cru's corner, seeing an opportunity there. I suppose it's all very murky, and it's all just like I said, to seal the deal. He gives Mr. Hand gives Duke Best the finger.
All this for a BMX track in the middle of fucking Calgary.
Yep. So Rick Moliterno was one of the riders that was supposed to be featured in the movie, but he broke his leg during the stunt rehearsals. He's the guy that asks Cru to sign his cast on the way to the wall for the race.
Oh, also, doesn't he say that the money, the $50,000, it has to be like $50,000 in profit or in
sales
receipts?
Yeah, so in sales.
Okay, because that's not sales, what they're doing. They're just taking donations.
I assume what they're doing is they're ordering T-shirts. I'm thinking about this a little too much, but that's the only way that I can really make sense of it. Because later on,
also those T-shirts suck. They're terrible.
Fucking terrible. Yeah, and Cru's racing outfit is also bullshit. That's what you get when you let your little sister make your costume.
Yeah, and she's a criminal at that.
So yeah, on the way out, Sergeant Smith tells Cru that he can do it. Go balls out. Which, like I said,
and I was uncomfortable when he said that.
Yeah, you don't want an adult saying that to you. Particularly,
I don't want Sergeant Slaughter saying anything remotely like that.
Big guy in a cop uniform with a big mustache and a bald head.
Yeah, I mean, he's very much like he would be at home in the bar scenes in Cruising.
I was going to say at Precinct Night in Cruising.
So it's that. Yeah. It's he's Mr. New England Leather, 1984.
Yeah. Now we get to the big race. Now, when I was a kid, I was seriously intimidated by that starting wall, that hell track thing. It's cool.
Well, so were they.
Apparently. They cut it back down
because they had to cut it in half.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I have no idea how tall it was originally, but they cut it down to 25 feet, which is still...
It was, I think, 40-something feet, and the way that they did it was like one of the guys, because none of them were willing to do it. They talk about this a little bit in one of the features. None of them were willing to do it because they were like, that's insane. We will just fall forward and break our neck. And so there was one scrappy little dude who was like, all right, give me a ladder. And he got up on the ladder and he would sort of climb it and be like, no, that's too high. And he would pull it down a little bit and he'd be like, no, that's still too high. And he would come down a little bit more and he's like, here, I can do it from here.
Jeez.
And that was where they cut it.
Awesome. So now they roll out all of the qualifying riders for Hell Track. Unsurprisingly, these guys are all pro riders. And among them is Bill Allen's stunt double, Eddie Fiola.
I think my problem with this whole scene is that we're supposed to believe that Cru Jones, this scrappy local kid who just loves riding bikes, but also has 2 jobs, is better than all of these professional riders.
Yeah. But again, that's my fucking complaint is...
There's no Mr. Miyagi in this to teach him to be a better rider.
That's the thing is there's no advancement.
I mean, he's not a better anything. He doesn't evolve at all.
No, he starts out the best and he fucking ends the best. So yeah, Cru's mom is among the spectators, and she's seated next to the lady that Cru helped out of the traffic jam at the beginning of the movie, and she just has so much to say about Cru.
Yeah, but this Talia Shire, she looks so worried. She's such a worried mom, and it's like, we have no idea what she's feeling because she's barely in this fucking movie.
Yeah. Yep.
She is in it for 30 seconds where they have 2 conversations that make no sense to us because we have no context for what they're talking about. And we're supposed to I don't know, feel her anxiety, I guess.
Yeah, and their tension and their struggle, what is in this movie, is just immediately works itself out.
You know what would have been great if his father also died riding BMX bikes.
Yeah, I mean, give us something,
anything. Give me anything.
Yeah. So the race is on. As it turns out, none of the pro riders were able to finish it. He had to use a little movie magic to make it look like a real race. And they had to break it up into several shots and tie them together in post. It took 2 weeks to shoot the entire hell track sequence. Yeah, and it's very seriously, it is the best part of the movie. It's a pretty exciting race. It's a cool track, but you know how it's going to work out. There's a ton, but there is a ton of great bike stunts and shit.
I think they also loop some of this footage. The scene where they're doing the qualifying stuff in the woods, you can tell that some of that shit is looped because it's the same exact shot.
Same track over and over, yeah. So there's some ups and downs.
But then he does the backflip at the end, and the guy says, "Hulk Hogan, eat your heart out."
What?
What? Did Hulk Hogan do a lot of backflips?
I don't think so. He was a big man, way too big to be doing backflips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems dangerous at best.
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe it was just because
the end of this movie is powerfully boring.
Yeah. Cru falls. Rex and Rod do their Cobra Kai shit. He gets back to the lead, and he does one of those backflips at a crucial moment in the race. In the final lap,
Hulk Hogan.
Bart Taylor waits for Cru to catch up to him so they can go head to head. That's tight all the way to the finish, but Cru wins. Mm-hmm. So now Duke Best,
and he does it. He overcomes and he wins, and he has enough money to. What is he trying to do? Who knows?
Go to college?
Nope. That was why he had to take the SAT.
That's the thing. But here's the thing: like, he won $10,000. Even if he lost this, that's enough to go to 4 years of college in 1986.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, Duke Best loses whatever his deal with the department store is. Bart gets fired from the Mongoose team, but he goes over to Cru's entourage and congratulates him on the win. And
I think he calls Bart a gnome.
Yeah. What?
Everyone's like super mad at Bart. And you're like, wait, is he supposed to be the villain of the movie? Because he's a little bit of a dick at the beginning and then kind of like at the dance. But then after that, it's just like, I don't know. He's just another one of the fucking riders. He could be anybody for all I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was just the fact that like he's like a fucking Olympic gold medalist, American hero. They can't have him be Johnny Lawrence all the way to the end. Like he's got to have a sort of like redeeming moment.
Yeah, because Johnny Lawrence literally breaks his leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he is a violent criminal. The sister is more of a villain in this movie.
Yeah. So yeah, as he congratulates him, and then they invite him to join Team Rad Racing. So now,
yeah, everybody's friends now. Even Cru even resolves this tension without any trouble,
doing nothing about it. Yeah. So now we cut to dudes doing sweet bike tricks. Roll credits.
Yeah. God, this movie sucks.
Yep. Fucking rad.
Now, look, this is I guess, considered a kind of a cult classic. And even that, I'm a little bit like, is it though?
Well, okay.
I think it appeals to a certain age group.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the fucking definition of a cult. And the thing with this cult,
cult films can develop. I mean, look at Rocky Horror Picture Show. That movie's 50 years old and it is still very popular. Cult films do age. This is not a cult film. This is a movie that is trafficking purely in nostalgia.
Sure. But like
the only reason people like this is because it gives them the warm, fuzzy feelings because there's no complications. It's literally just they're checking off boxes of an 80s sports movie. Like there's nothing else you can't feel one way or another about it because there's nothing to feel about it.
There's I disagree. Because the cult of this movie is super, super into this movie. Like to such a point that, like I said,
because it reminds them of something. It reminds them of being a child.
Sure.
There's nothing else to it. Like there's no greater appeal to it. Like I wasn't a child. I wasn't alive in 1970, whatever, but I can still I appreciate a movie like The Warriors. Fucking love that movie.
Right.
Because there's something there to the story. There's something to appreciate. There's nothing here to appreciate. What they are building a cult around is a warm, fuzzy feeling that you can get from lots of things. It has nothing to do with what you're watching.
Yeah. But I suppose maybe that's what the crux of this whole thing is, like what constitutes a cult film. And I think that nostalgia is enough for some
I don't think
cases.
it's enough because this movie's not going to age. Once people are, anyone who's younger than us is going to watch this and be like, what the fuck is this?
Sure. But we talked about this in Phantom of the Paradise too. Like there is going to come a time when
that's a movie that did age like that. That reached you're going to age out just because of the content or whatever. But like that's not a feeling that you're getting. People appreciate that movie because it's a fun movie. Eventually, the campiness of it is just not going to resonate. There's nothing in this movie that resonates. There's nothing in this movie to resonate.
No, it's just there's just a lot of people who are into BMX. And it was a sort of a moment in their childhood that sort of, maybe it got a lot of people on bikes. Maybe it probably sold a lot of Mongoose bikes for a very particular.
I hope someone benefited from it.
A very particular. I don't think anybody fucking benefited. Embassy like entertainment probably did. through just sheer, sales of tapes for rental outlets. But yeah,
I don't know. I was expecting to, when I watched the special features on the disc, I was expecting to kind of be like, this is just a pure cash grab. It's like they're kind of like cashing in on a kind of flash in the pan trend. Mm-hmm. And that is true. That is exactly what they were doing. But everybody has really good memories of it, which is kind of nice. You just expect, with shit like this, you'd expect them to be crank it out, let's get our fucking money and get the fuck out of here. But everyone is still kind of yeah, we all had a really good time making that. It was really fun.
Yeah. And
that's nice. I like that.
That's the thing is, Bill Allen, he hasn't really, this was probably his only major starring role. And he does bank a lot on this. He wrote a fucking book about it. But when I hear him talk about it, it doesn't feel desperate. It feels like this was a really good experience for him, and he had a ton of fun and learned a lot of things. Apparently he just kept riding after this. He's older than me and still rides. So
yeah, because he's 25 when he was in this.
Yeah, and Bart Connor has a really good.
He went on to play several characters named Bart.
he has a really good sense of humor about this. Nobody remembers the fact that he was kind of American hero in 1984, but everybody who knows him remembers him from this fucking movie. So
I like that. I like when you look back and everybody has either fond memories or that good sense of humor. Because you could be real bitter about shit like this.
Yeah.
And it's nice when they're not who doesn't show up in any of this shit? Aunt Becky. And not just because she's in jail. Actually, when they recorded all that stuff, I think she was actually in jail.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she's not in it.
No, but no, for us, very obviously the dopamine didn't hit. It was.
Oh no, it did. That's the thing, is that it actually did do what it was intended to do. I was extremely nostalgic watching this, but not because of the movie. Just because it sort of transported me to that era.
I know what you're saying, because I definitely have spent a lot of thoughts remembering that time.
And that's what it's trading in. It's not a movie that and nobody gives a shit about the fucking movie because there's no plot to this film.
That's
what they is being taken back. It's the same as sitting down and watching G.I. Joe or Thundercats, which I also do for the same reason. But there's no fucking cult around that shit. There's just a fandom who is trying to hold on desperately to their childhood now that they have some fucking money to blow. Mm. Case in point, me.
I don't know. I think that is perfectly.
I don't think that's enough to build a cult.
I think it is perfectly adequate because there is a demonstrable cult behind this movie. It's just
that's great.
It's just not us,
fucking have it, make it while you can, and if everybody's having fun, that's awesome. But this is not a thing that I think. It's not going to resonate with anybody who wasn't there to watch it originally. And that's that. I think you can't build I think the way that we've been thinking about cults, and maybe this is just a question of maybe we need to expand that definition, or maybe I need to expand that definition, but is that it's a thing that takes time to build because when it is initially released, it doesn't really have an audience. When this came out, it had an audience. It just, nobody gave a shit because it's not a good movie. And then it gained one a little bit later because everyone wanted to feel those feelings again. It's it didn't build anything. It doesn't appreciate with age. It's just people holding on to their childhood, and this is one way to do that.
Yeah.
Nostalgia is not cult. Nostalgia is a very personal thing.
Sure. I mean, but I think I could make a case for it. I mean, if enough people share specifically the details that make up that nostalgia, because this is a very particular moment in time. It was a very idiosyncratic sport that was not, just wasn't available everywhere. It certainly was not available to everybody, but it was available to a very, a group of people who were in the right place at the right time to sort of experience it. And now that they're adults, this is sort of
who cannot ride bikes.
I know. I tried.
I'm trying to imagine myself getting on a fucking bike right now. And I'm a fairly active person, but getting on a bike, I have rheumatoid arthritis. I'm not getting on anything.
Yeah, no, but again, I'm defending it. It's apparent cultness because the people who are into this are
I
into
see the appeal.
it.
I just don't. I just don't think that it really falls into that category. I think it's something else. And I don't think whatever that thing is, it has a quality that is enduring.
Well, it's just because we're not a part of that cult. Like, we don't really, beyond the sort of like.
Well, that's the thing is there something to be a part of, or is there just fandom? Like, you think about something like a cult, you think about like Phantom of the Paradise.
Is there a difference though?
I think there is. I think there is when you think about a cult, it's people who are, joining message boards in like late 90s and shit, people who are collecting things and, trading things and sharing things. This, I think, is just a bunch of people appreciating something again, because it makes them feel warm and nice. I don't know. That is my take.
I don't see a difference really. I think that it's the same fundamental feeling. It's just we've got our own versions of this in just different movies. It's. You
know what we can agree on though? This movie is terrible.
It's pretty bad. Oh my God. It's not. It's like it's barely over 90 minutes, and it's such a slog.
I felt like I was watching it all goddamn day.
There's no stakes. There's no heart. There's no arc. There's nobody struggles. There's no development.
There's just ass sliding and bicycle boogieing. Neither of which are actual things.
Yep. Good God, listeners. If you're into Rad, I'm so sorry. This is you're not going to change my mind on this one. Oh, God. No. So what's up next?
Oh, well, this here 99-cent rental, it will be back in 2 weeks with Get Crazy, which is a very strange film that is also very much of a time and place.
It's a favorite of mine. I like this one a lot, and I'm very excited. I can't wait.
But before that, Bring Me the Axe will be back. It'll be me, you, Phil Stiller, and Mr. Roper all going to the boneyard.
All right. Be here in a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, both. Why not? See you later.
It's gonna take all we